So we do have East Sahara's Naama versus Slayer's Ryung.
These players are pretty good, I heard.
On the map, Ohana. So I remember you were talking a little bit about Ohana's been changed recently. So what did they do to it?
I actually was a big person to change that. I don't know if you knew that. The guys actually asked me to help balance it. So what I basically did was, well, I didn't do it, obviously, but I gave the suggestions to do it. The first thing I did was, there was like a huge back rocks, or not back rocks, like back abyss over here.
Okay. Yep.
I changed it so it was a lot tighter. Now, they did make it super, super tight, but I don't mind this change because it's a new dynamic that we haven't really seen in different maps. It does limit drop play quite a bit, so turns might have a little bit of problem, but it also weakens things like Muta play, War Person play as well. But still, overall, like medevacs will be affected the most, but still there is a pretty huge arc that you have to defend if you want to be able to defend that effectively.
Yeah, it's interesting because basically what it comes down to, if you scroll, let's say we look at Ryung's base, not Ryung's, Naama's base, and then scroll all the way north, and then scroll east. And you can see there's not really enough room for a medevac to sneak by. You can actually put a turret, go back to the eastern, you could just put a turret right there, and you don't have to worry about drops all along the top of your base, because nothing will be able to slip by. And then probably 2 turrets in the south of your base, and you are very, very safe against most kinds of drops and things like that.
Yeah, obviously affecting TVT quite a bit. Now the other things we changed, the third used to be in East Bumble. We changed it, and also used to be a what? It used to be an East Bumble. You never heard of that expression?
No.
Really far away. It's just, it used to be really far away on a ramp. It almost felt like jungle base, that kind of thing, where you destroyed the destructible rocks, and then it came up into another expansion.
Okay.
I shortened the distance, so it's approximately 3 creep tumors away. And obviously it's low ground now. That was their choice. The fourths used to be right dead set in the middle, bottom or mid right or mid left, and I jutted them down a little bit because I thought those expansions were completely useless, and a lot of races could just play one style, which is go for that huge push. More so Terran and Protoss, they can go for that one push and just constantly keep denying the expansion. Zerg had such a hard time. So a lot of different balance changes like that. This fourth over here was kept the same. I think that openness adds a really nice dynamic to it, but overall, you know, they kept a lot of the creative thoughts to themselves, and they kept that going. Well, I just told them to just slightly adjust the expansions and the shorten the map.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what both of these players are doing right now.
Go.
We see Ryung has gone for a 1-Rax expand. Naama was not able to scout it. He put down the expansion just before the SCV was able to get into his base. The Marine was out, pushed the SCV out of his base. So Naama doesn't know really anything about Ryung, what Ryung is doing, other than the fact that he's not going gas first. Meanwhile, Ryung has seen that Naama's going gas. He scouted no tech lab. The Marine came out after the SCV was out of his base. He builds a tech lab, he makes a Reaper, and he goes for the expand. I really like this from Naama because a lot of players, it's easy to forget that Reapers are a thing unless you actually scout the tech lab and your opponent goes Reaper first. And so this delayed Reaper has a pretty decent chance of catching Ryung off guard, but on this map, there's actually not a good way to abuse it. You might be able to jump in through the very back here by the back rocks near the third, but even that isn't likely to do you a whole bunch of good. It would be much better on a map like Shattered, where you can jump in and go straight to the mineral line. Yeah. Okay, and here we do see Naama's Reaper is going to go into the
this
back.
might be all the worth it now.
He is going to be able to get that mule. And if he controls, he's going to jump into the main here. He's going to see the factory. Probably get at least one more SCV. And does he see that there are 2 gases? He does see the double gas. And here we see Naama doesn't actually... Naama very obviously not familiar with the map because there is no way to jump off that back area, and he was looking for it.
You know, good thing for Naama, I think, that basically gave him all the ranges that his opponent is actually possible of. When you go 2 barracks and a factory, you're probably not expecting something like Cloak Banshees. It's kind of hard to do that, seeing as you're probably getting upgrades, things like that, on your barracks in particular. It's still within his range, but it's going to be weakened in my opinion, since he's kind of been really, really slow. He's allocating a lot of minerals towards non-cloak, non-gas, no, with gas units. That's it. Whatever it is.
Right.
But it just slowed down. That's what I'm saying, and it's going to be hard to do that.
If Ryung was going to be doing some kind of 1-Rax expand in a Cloak Banshee, we wouldn't expect to see the second barracks, because that slows down one of his gas timings, and also the tech lab. I think he had the tech lab on the factory earlier when he scouted. No, he didn't, because the factory wasn't actually done. But yeah, it's definitely something that would be a little less likely. Naama is building the engineering bay now. Ryung is still... Oh, Ryung actually scanned. I think we missed that. So if you go to Ryung's vision, Ryung did see the starport being built on the tech lab, and Naama is just getting Cloak. He's getting a Banshee anyway, which is a little surprising.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I would have preferred just Raven, and you just switch out. You can go a single Banshee or something like that if you're going maybe mech. But otherwise, I mean, this Cloak Banshee should be countered if Ryung's doing it right. And you can see the turret is placed over there in a nice position. There's great zoning by these Marines. Yeah, the turrets, and this is kind of going back to what we were talking about on the map earlier. There's not a lot of space for a Banshee to get by on this map, and so those 2 turrets, one at the natural, one at the main, basically the only surface area the Banshee has to attack is going to be over where that Viking is, and possibly a little bit to the right of it, and then going into the main. Basically everything else is either covered by the bunker, the turrets. Yeah, I mean, Ryung's doing a really good job of zoning, just being safe. He does see the Banshee with his SCV, and he does see a tank. So Ryung's scout doing a very nice job there. I think he also checked for the third. Did not see that, but that's not particularly indicative of anything, because he could very easily be building the 3rd command center inside his main. Viking's going to catch this one Banshee off guard right here. He doesn't actually cloak. He needs to do it ASAP, or else this Banshee's going to die. That's a little surprising. I wonder if that was intentional by Naama. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. It can't be. Oh, no. Let me explain. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so a lot of builds will build, they'll go 1 Banshee, and then they'll transition immediately into something else. And those builds won't be getting Cloak. And so if Naama had built a 2nd Banshee, which he does in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, he could be using, he says, okay, Ryung, you scouted my 1 Banshee. I'm going to make you think that I didn't get Cloak. I'm just doing this 1 Banshee build, but secretly, I'm going to keep making Banshees, and I'm not going to reveal Cloak until I think it's actually worth it. And so basically, Naama's decided that he's okay with losing that 1 Banshee because he doesn't want Ryung to know that he has Cloak research. Sure. Definitely a possibility, but it's kind of a expensive... an expensive trade right there, just to give fake intel. And right now, he has to realize that, yeah, it's still in the probability that he could get delayed Cloak. But, yeah, definitely a good point, and maybe Ryung will not prepare. He won't get turrets all around, but right now he does. The only shot Naama has at really paying off with this Cloak, I think, is doing a lot of damage to the 3rd, not having a turret put up there. But right now, with going mech, I do like going Banshees. Normally, that is something that you do, because normally you do have something like air control, mass Vikings, all that, the Ravens. And that can be very, very useful against, players that are going biomech, because biomech actually has a weakness in anti-air. They don't have good range. And here we go. Let's take a look at the 3rd. Ryung is trying to pressure that. And you were saying Naama really needs Cloak to pay off in order to stay in this game. That's kind of what I heard from you. And I would actually argue that Naama's winning. Naama doesn't need Cloak to win the game. He's already ahead. His 3rd is down. He's got both gas geysers mining. He's going mech. He's safe. He's got the turrets. He's got Marines in his main. And he's going to be transitioning into double armory, which is a little strange. But meanwhile... Yeah. Hold on. High-sec auto-tracking is being researched. I'm so happy right now. Wait, is Naama's getting 3 armories? Really?
Yep. There's one in his main and there's two in his natural. So we're...
Oh,
nope. No, he canceled an armor. Okay. So we're not seeing some super advanced mech plus ship weapons kind of play. Naama just actually made a mistake there. And Ryung actually going to punish. Very nice move by Ryung. Well, almost, actually. Let's see. Damage going down at the natural, but there's not a whole lot of units here. Naama going to use that cloak.
Yeah, and obviously Quick Banshee is going to be stimmed on, and then will not be taken out. So this one Banshee is going to do a ton of damage, but still, ooh, taking out the armory. That's going to be very tough to actually stop. But here he goes, actually taking out the siege tanks, and all of a sudden Naama turns from a great position into complete crap right now. I mean, he is not looking good. Obviously, losing that siege tank is detrimental to his mid game. Yeah. And he can basically kiss his third goodbye as well because, you know, now he has a lot less units to cover a much larger area. The Marines and Marauders, therefore, are empowered. They have a lot of movement. They have a lot of places to go around to. And I think if he plays his cards right, Ryung should be pressuring this main just by dropping or forcing, like, you know, killing the turrets, dropping out, and then taking out the third as well. Things like that. Just movement tricks to really out-position your opponent.
Right. And basically what happened there was Ryung started dropping units on top of the tanks at the third. Naama was distracted, and then he darted into the main, into the natural area. And before okay, we have another drop coming down here. So he's going to set up for this attack, drops on top of the tanks, and Naama's too spread out. He lost too much in that previous attack. He's going to have to give up his third. If he unsieges his tanks, resieges them a little bit closer, he might be able to keep that third alive, but his position is very rapidly deteriorating.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Naama is just screwed, man. Like, he lost his command center. He's down to 2 bases. That's not a position you want to be in when you're going something like mech. No, he's not behind. Well, excuse me. He is behind, but he's not dead in this game. But still, Naama, what he needs to do to stop this Viking, or excuse me, stop the medevac drops from actually doing a lot of damage, he needs that Viking count. I think Ryung is punishing him so hard for that. I
really don't understand why Naama continues to make Banshees when he's not actually using them. Like, a Banshee at the third, you could maybe do some damage with good control. But here we go, a big drop in the main, and yeah,
that's it. And he pauses it. GM. So, I mean, there's a couple things with that we can talk about that. Obviously, the Banshees didn't pay for themselves, but as you said, it's a really...
Look at the resource tab.
Let me see.
Right?
Resources.
Like, right here. You can just see it. 20,500 to almost 23,000 from Naama.
Yeah.
Naama was ahead in that game, but he did not have the proper infrastructure, the proper unit positioning, the proper unit composition to stop those drops and to stop the multitasking from breaking him.
The third, I think, was premature. He couldn't have taken that at that time just because there's so much position. Ohana actually expands in a line rather than like Antigua Shipyard, which expands in a triangle. That's really important to note. So when you're expanding in a line, there's a lot more position that you have to cover. It becomes a very big problem to deal with, medevac drops, things like that. On top of that, we had a big problem with not getting Vikings. As you said, the unit composition was so off. Normally, when you are going mech, you have to go Vikings because medevac drops are going to screw you every single time. That same way that Ryung did it.
Yeah, and there was also, I mean, I actually like Naama's position. I think the fast third is what you need to do when you're playing mech. The problem was he had 6 or 7 siege tanks that were in kind of like a circle.
Yeah.
And instead of spreading those out between his natural and his third and making kind of a wall of defense, he just had this very concentrated defense at his third, and Ryung really punished him for it. So Naama picking Antigua Shipyard, I would bet he's going mech. 100%. He's going to go mech. This is the map to do it on. I can't think of very few maps that are better than this for that play.
One thing I would alter in his build if I were to do that again, a lot of times when you take your third, it's actually hard to actually materialize the gas in a timely manner. but you can materialize the minerals really, really well. So you can actually make turrets to defend you. So instead of going that high Viking count, if you know you're going to be in a defensive position, don't be afraid to just throw down those turrets. You have good map control with those Hellions out on the map. They should be doing a little bit of damage. You have those Banshees harassing as well. You know when your opponent's third is up. So if you see your opponent doesn't have a third down, the only other thing, or I shouldn't say the only, but it's more probable that you could be going up against a mass army composition, or excuse me, a mass army with, you know, a lot of medevacs, things like that, siege tanks. So go ahead and throw down those turrets. Go ahead and defend against those drops, because if you don't have that Viking count, you're going to get punished every single time.
Yep.
And we're going to go to a break. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with game number 2 between Ryung and Naama. Don't go anywhere. Game number 2. Going to be back.